Have you ever wondered why some people remain completely calm when they are insulted, while others lose their peace over a single careless sentence? What if the greatest form of strength has nothing to do with speaking louder, arguing better, or proving yourself right? What if true power begins the very moment you no longer feel the need to respond? Modern life teaches us that silence is uncomfortable. If someone attacks you, defend yourself. If someone misunderstands you, explain yourself. If someone ignores you, demand to be heard. We are conditioned to believe that every silence is a weakness waiting to be exposed. But according to Buddhist wisdom, the opposite may be true. The Buddha taught that the endless noise we carry inside our minds, not merely the sounds around us, is the real source of suffering. Every unnecessary argument, every compulsive explanation, every restless thought strengthens the illusion of the ego while distancing us from genuine peace. Noble silence is therefore not the absence of words. It is the presence of deep awareness. In this video, we will explore one of the most profound teachings preserved in Buddhist scriptures: why silence can become an unbreakable shield against anger, a gateway to meditation, a language beyond words, and ultimately, a path toward freedom itself. By the end, you may discover that the quietest moments of your life have always contained the greatest wisdom. Part 1. The Modern Noise Machine and the Trap of the Ego. We live in a world that never sleeps, a culture completely intoxicated by the relentless production of noise. From the moment our eyes open in the morning, our attention is hijacked. The smartphone buzzes with breaking news alerts, social media feeds scroll infinitely, and email inboxes overflow with urgent demands. We rush through morning traffic surrounded by honking horns, only to sit in front of computer screens listening to the steady hum of office chatter and digital notifications. But the loudest noise we encounter isn't coming from the streets or our devices. It is the chaotic, unstoppable voice inside our own heads. Have you ever noticed how your mind constantly narrates your life? It judges the person sitting next to you on the subway, worries about a bill due next week, replaying an awkward conversation from 3 years ago, and planning what to say in tomorrow's meeting. In modern psychology, this is often called the monkey mind. In ancient Buddhist philosophy, this endless internal chatter is known as papanka, conceptual proliferation. It is the mind's tendency to take a single, simple reality and multiply it into a labyrinth of thoughts, anxieties, labels, and illusions. Why do we do this? Why is silence so terrifying to the modern mind? The truth is, we often weaponize words to construct fragile identities. We feel an anxious, deep-seated need to defend our egos against the fluid, unpredictable nature of the world. We believe that if we can label everything, explain everything, and out-talk everyone, we can maintain control. If someone criticizes us, we immediately build a wall of words to protect our image. If we feel lonely, we drown out the emptiness by consuming content or texting friends. We use noise as an emotional anesthetic, a shield to keep us from facing our deepest vulnerabilities, our fears of inadequacy, and our existential loneliness. The Buddha observed that this compulsive mental chatter, driven by delusion and desire, is the very root of our profound dissatisfaction. We believe our thoughts are telling us the truth about reality, but most of the time, they are just spinning a web of fiction. When we look at a beautiful sunset, instead of simply experiencing it, our mind immediately starts producing words. This is beautiful. I should take a picture. It reminds me of that trip to California. I wonder if I can afford to go back there next summer. Just like that, the raw, miraculous present moment is stolen by a cascade of concepts. We are no longer living in reality. We are living in a commentary about reality. The ancient wisdom of noble silence offers a radical escape hatch from this exhausting mental labyrinth. Noble silence is not a passive refusal to speak. It is a disciplined, deliberate decision to suspend the need to constantly explain, label, and control our surroundings. When we practice this silence, we step back from the machinery of the ego. We stop feeding the illusions that cause us so much stress and anxiety. Imagine walking into a room and, for once, not needing to have an opinion on anything. Imagine facing an uncomfortable situation at work or in your family and choosing not to instantly react with a defensive speech. True intelligence emerges not from how quickly we can formulate a clever response, but from the disciplined refusal to rush into premature meaning. By stopping the verbal assembly line in our heads, we allow reality to genuinely disclose itself. We discover that beneath the stormy surface of our daily anxieties lies a vast, untouched ocean of peace that has been there all along, waiting for the noise to clear. Part 2. The Shield Against Hostility. Imagine this common modern scenario. You are driving home after an exhausting day at work. Suddenly, another driver cuts you off without warning, turns around, and flashes an angry, aggressive gesture at you. Instantly, blood rushes to your face. Your heart races, your hands grip the steering wheel, and a wave of hot anger surges through your body. In that split second, your survival instinct screams at you to honk your horn, roll down your window, and yell a string of insults back. You feel that if you stay quiet, you are losing, proving yourself weak, and letting them walk all over you. We experience variations of this every day. In passive-aggressive emails from a manager, snarky comments on social media, or tense disagreements with family members. Our deeply ingrained, impulsive instinct is always to retaliate, to match anger with anger, noise with noise. Yet over 2,000 years ago, the Buddha demonstrated that an unshakable, poised silence is actually the ultimate, impenetrable shield against external negativity. This truth is beautifully captured in a famous scriptural story from the Akasatha Sutta. There was a wealthy Brahmin named Bharadvaj who grew deeply resentful of the Buddha because many of his own relatives had decided to leave their traditional lives to follow the Buddha's teachings. Consumed by jealousy and blinding rage, Bharadvaja walked straight to where the Buddha was resting and began to viciously abuse, insult, and curse him with the harshest words he could muster. The Buddha did not argue. He did not raise his voice, point a finger, or try to defend his character. He simply listened with absolute, undisturbed serenity. When the Brahmin finally ran out of breath and stopped shouting, the Buddha looked at him gently and asked a simple question. "Tell me, Brahmin, do you ever receive visits from friends and relatives at your house?" "Yes, sometimes I do," Bharadvaja replied, confused by the question. "And when they visit, do you offer them food, sweets, and hospitality?" "Of course I do." "But Brahmin, if they do not accept your food and gifts, to whom do those things belong?" The Brahmin shrugged and said, "Well, if they don't accept them, then the food and gifts remain mine. They still belong to me." The Buddha nodded and replied softly, "In the exact same way, Brahmin, I do not accept your insults, your anger, and your curses. Since I do not accept them, they do not belong to me. They return directly to you. You are the only one who must carry them." This profound teaching reveals that anger is like a toxic gift. It only becomes yours if you reach out your hands and take it. When someone hurls criticism, venom, or hatred towards you, they are holding out a poisoned chalice. If you react, if you argue, or if you get defensive, you have accepted the gift. You have swallowed the poison, and it will now consume your inner peace. A poised, noble silence neutralizes toxic energy without absorbing its poison. This conscious restraint is never a display of cowardice or weakness. In fact, it requires an extraordinary amount of inner strength. It is the ultimate exercise in emotional mastery. Anger is a fire that desperately needs the oxygen of your reaction to survive. When you refuse to give it a reaction, when you meet it with a steady, mindful silence, you starve the fire. It has nowhere to go, and it eventually burns itself out. By mindfully observing the hostility of others instead of aggressively reacting, you reclaim your inner power. You stop being a puppet whose emotions are controlled by the bad behavior of strangers or coworkers. You choose to preserve your tranquility, and in doing so, you instantly extinguish the destructive cycle of suffering. Part 3. From internal chaos to deep stillness. Let's step away from external conflicts for a moment and look inward. Even when we are alone in a completely quiet room, turning off all our devices, true peace can still feel completely out of reach. We lie in bed at 2 a.m., desperate for sleep, but our mind refuses to shut down. It feels like an engine that keeps running even after the key has been removed. We experience a modern epidemic known as hurry sickness, a chronic baseline anxiety that tells us we are constantly falling behind, that we need to be doing more, achieving more, and moving faster. Our consciousness resembles a turbulent, stormy sea, whipped up by the heavy winds of worry about the future and regret over the past. We try to fix this internal chaos by seeking outer solutions. We change jobs, move to new cities, buy new clothes, or plan vacations. But wherever we go, we bring our chaotic minds with us. As the saying goes, wherever you go, there you are. The teachings of Buddhist wisdom suggest that authentic noble silence is much deeper than the mere absence of spoken words. It is an internal state of deep meditative absorption, a profound unification of body, speech, and mind that calms the turbulent waters of consciousness. It is the cultivation of samadhi, a state of unwavering focus and deep inner tranquility. Think of your chaotic mind as a glass of muddy water. If you want to make the water clear, you don't stir it with a spoon. You don't add more water or try to force the mud out. What do? You simply set the glass down. You let it sit in complete stillness. Slowly, naturally, without any struggle, the particles of mud begin to settle to the bottom. The water becomes crystal clear, allowing light to pass through it completely. The practice of noble silence is the act of setting down the glass of your mind. By intentionally creating spaces of quiet in your day, you stop stirring the mud of your thoughts. You allow the ripples of worry, anxiety, and hurry to gradually subside into a perfect, stabilizing tranquility. This internal stillness acts as the essential foundation for deep listening. When your mind is loud, you cannot truly hear anyone or anything. You don't even hear your own body when it screams at you that it is exhausted, stressed, and burning out. But when the noise subsides, your awareness sharpens. You gain the ability to rest fully in every single step you take. You learn to breathe deeply into the wonders of the present moment, recognizing that this very moment is the only place where life actually exists. In this serene space of heightened awareness, the quality of your entire life changes. You no longer need constant external stimulation to feel happy. You stop living in a state of desperation, driven by the loud demands of worldly cravings for recognition, wealth, and pleasure. Instead, you finally begin to hear the subtle, joyous music of existence, the simple beauty of a breath moving in and out of your lungs, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the profound miracle of simply being alive. Part 4. The language beyond words. Think about the moments of deepest connection in your life. Was it when you were talking continuously, throwing arguments back and forth, or analyzing a situation to death? More often than not, our words fail us when we need them most. In relationships, we often experience the painful limitations of language. We spend hours trying to explain our feelings to a partner, a parent, or a friend, only to feel more misunderstood at the end of the conversation than at the beginning. Words become rigid, conceptual cages. They freeze fluid, delicate emotions into cold definitions, leading to misinterpretations, labels, and division. The most profound universal truths entirely bypass the limitations of human language. This beautiful mystery is perfectly captured in one of the most legendary stories in Buddhist tradition, the Flower Sermon. One day, the Buddha was gathered on Gridhakuta mountain with a vast assembly of his disciples, monks, and followers. Everyone sat in quiet anticipation, waiting for the master to deliver a profound, deeply philosophical lecture on the nature of reality, karma, or enlightenment. They had their pens and minds ready to analyze, break down, and record his words. However, the Buddha did not say a word. He sat in total, serene silence. Instead of speaking, he slowly reached down, picked up a single golden lotus flower, and gently twirled it between his fingers, holding it up before the silent crowd. The assembly was completely baffled. The monks looked at each other, confused, trying to figure out the hidden, intellectual meaning behind this gesture. They began to overanalyze it in their minds. Does the flower represent impermanence? Does the stem represent the middle way? What is the secret doctrine being communicated here? They were trapped in the labyrinth of concepts, desperately trying to find a word-based answer. But in that luminous, wordless moment, only one disciple, Mahakashyap, did not look confused. He didn't try to analyze the flower. He simply looked at the lotus, looked at the Buddha, and let out a gentle, quiet smile. Seeing this smile, the Buddha spoke, declaring to the entire assembly, "I possess the treasury of the true Dharma I, the wonderful mind of nirvana, the formless reality of ultimate truth. This subtle Dharma does not rely on words or letters, but is transmitted outside of scriptures. This I now pass on to Mahakashyapa." What happened in that silent exchange? The Buddha didn't transmit an intellectual concept. He transmitted the direct energy of the formless mind, pointing strictly to the true nature of reality. Mahakāshyapa smiled because he realized that the miracle of life cannot be understood through definitions. It can only be experienced through direct, unmediated awareness. The flower was just a flower, beautiful, perfect, and alive in the present moment. By stopping his analytical mind, Mahakāshyapa was able to meet the reality of the flower exactly as it was. When we stop overanalyzing everything in our modern lives, we open the door to this mutual, silent recognition. Think of a long married couple who can sit together in a car for hours without saying a single word, yet feel completely connected, loved, and understood. Think of looking into the eyes of a newborn baby, or standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon. No words are necessary. In fact, speaking during those moments would only break the magic, turning a sacred reality into a cheap concept. Noble silence preserves the delicate, quiet interval where phenomena can disclose themselves genuinely and completely. It reminds us that when we stop trying to force the universe into the tiny box of human vocabulary, we finally become capable of experiencing the perfect unfolding miracle of life exactly as it is. Part 5. Silence as fullness, not emptiness. In modern society, we are heavily conditioned to falsely equate quietness with awkward emptiness, boredom, or lack. If a conversation stalls for more than 5 seconds, we feel an intense wave of social anxiety and rush to fill the gap with meaningless small talk. If we are driving alone, we must turn on a podcast or music. If we arrive home to an empty apartment, the first thing we often do is turn on the television just to have background noise. We treat quietness as a vacuum, a barren wasteland that needs to be filled with continuous consumption. This deep fear of quietness stems from the fact that when the outer world goes silent, our internal distractions disappear, forcing us to look at what is actually inside us. And for many of us, looking inside reveals a painful landscape of unprocessed trauma, buried anxiety, old regrets, and an endless desire for external validation. We chase after internet likes, professional titles, and material possessions, hoping they will fill the empty void in our hearts. But Buddhist practice reveals that true silence is not an empty vacuum. It is a saturated, vibrant space that actively cures the diseases of a restless spirit. When you sit in profound silence, you are not stepping into a lack of life. You are stepping into the absolute fullness of life. By relinquishing your constant complaints, your endless inner monologues, and your exhausting pursuit of validation from others, you create an internal reservoir of stillness. You stop pouring your energy outward into the endless noise of human desire, allowing it to gather, consolidate, and heal your spirit. Think of silence as an interval of profound grace. When you stop talking and reacting, you stop defending your ego. When the ego is finally quieted, a beautiful shift happens. Natural compassion arises. You begin to look at your own hidden pain, not with judgment or panic, but with gentle, mindful awareness. You realize that the anger, fear, or loneliness you feel isn't a permanent part of who you are. It is just a passing storm in the vast sky of your consciousness. Slowly, this practice transforms your hidden pain into a wellspring of quiet, radiant wisdom. You begin to see others through the same lens of compassion. When someone snaps at you at work, instead of getting angry, your silent mind observes their suffering. You realize that their hostility is just a manifestation of their own internal noise, their own unresolved pain. Silence gives you the space to respond with kindness instead of escalating the conflict. This inner silence is never born from a harsh, aggressive suppression of your thoughts. It is not about forcing yourself to stop thinking through sheer willpower. That only creates more internal friction and stress. Instead, it comes from absolute saturation, a joyful, unshakable realization that you already possess everything you need within your own core. You do not need the world to applaud you to be worthy. You do not need to win every argument to be secure. In the profound fullness of noble silence, you realize that you are already complete, grounded, and deeply anchored in the majestic reality of the present moment. Part 6. Speaking from presence. Mastering the noble art of silence does not mean permanently muting your existence, becoming a hermit, or completely withdrawing from the world. We are social beings, and our daily lives require us to talk to our families, collaborate with our colleagues, and engage with our communities. The real challenge is not to avoid speaking altogether, but to completely refine our awareness so that when we do speak, our words carry profound weight, value, and presence. Most of our daily speech is completely reactive, automatic, and wasted. We gossip about public figures, complain about the weather, and speak words born from irritability or a desperate desire to appear intelligent. We leak our vital life energy through empty talk. By cultivating noble silence, you establish an unassailable ontological stance, a quiet, grounded authority that fiercely protects your inner peace while radiating a transformative, healing energy into a chaotic world. When you spend time in silence, your relationship with language changes. Words stop being tools used to defend your ego or manipulate others, transforming into precise instruments of healing, clarity, and truth. In the Buddhist tradition, this is known as practicing right speech. Before any word leaves your lips, it must pass through a set of strict mental gates. These gates are beautifully summarized as 4 simple questions. Is it true? Am I speaking from absolute honesty, or am I exaggerating, distorting facts, or spreading unverified rumors to benefit myself? Is it kind? Are my words motivated by genuine goodwill, love, and compassion, or am I speaking to hurt, judge, or put someone else down? Is it beneficial? Will what I'm about to say add value to the universe? Will it help solve a problem, heal a wound, or bring peace? Or is it just empty noise that will cause more confusion? Is it the right time? Even if something is true and kind, is the person ready to hear it right now? Am I speaking at a moment when my words will be truly received, or am I rushing to speak out of my own impatience? If your thoughts cannot pass through these strict gates of truth and compassion, then you gracefully choose to offer silence instead. This silence is not cold or distant, it is a magnificent gift. It is the act of holding a safe, spacious stillness for others, giving them the room they need to quiet their own minds and discover their own profound lessons. When you live and speak from this space of profound presence, people will immediately notice the shift. They will feel that your words are not coming from a place of anxiety or ego, but from a deep, steady reservoir of inner wisdom. You become a crystal clear vessel of the universe, a steady anchor in the middle of a raging storm. You will discover that your most unshakable strength has never lived within your loudest arguments, your cleverest comebacks, or your continuous self-explanations. It has always lived within your quietest, most present moments. As we reach the end of our journey today, take a deep breath and feel the physical quality of the space around you right now. Notice how, even after exploring all these teachings, the ultimate truth cannot be found in the words you have just heard, but in the quiet, spacious stillness that arrives the moment those words stop. Noble silence is not a historical artifact confined to ancient Buddhist monasteries. It is a living, breathing superpower designed perfectly for the modern world. It is an open invitation to step out of the exhausting noise machine, to put down the heavy shield of defensive arguments, and to discover the unshakable fullness that already lives inside your true nature. Tonight, when you turn off this video, don't rush to open another app, check your notifications, or play background music. Allow yourself to sit in the stillness for just 5 minutes. Watch the thoughts arise and pass like clouds across an open sky, and rest securely in the perfect reality of the present moment. If this exploration has brought a sense of clarity or peace to your day, we invite you to support our journey. Please hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with someone in your life who might be overwhelmed by the loud demands of the modern world. We would love to hear your thoughts. Which area of your life needs the healing gift of silence the most right now? Drop a comment below. Let's start a beautiful, mindful conversation. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your practice. And may you find lasting peace in your quietest moments.